Good Wednesday morning, everybody. I am meteorologist Johnny Lively here for our Wednesday show sponsored by HB Neal Construction. We look over there towards radar sponsored by Dana Simmons Real Estate Team. Not much going on. This is just some radar noise that we see. Couple showers offshore, but nothing right now. But we expect later on this afternoon, getting closer to the evening time hours, some moisture from the Louisiana side starts moving into southwest Louisiana, southeast Texas later on this afternoon into the evening time hours. So we can get 10% coverage at least later on this afternoon into the evening time. Here's a satellite and radar. Not much going on across the state of Texas, especially in Louisiana. But again, we will start notice some of those showers just southeast of New Orleans. That's some moisture that's going to be surging westward later on this afternoon into the evening time hours. But the mid to upper levels, we are still dry. That's what kept our temperatures pretty cool still this morning. Lots of dry air into the mid to upper levels thanks to our sponsor Switch Electric. We can show you this. But again, we'll see some of that moisture kind of surge a little bit westward later on. You can see that. Here's the last 24 hours temperature difference. Again, it's still pretty cool this morning. Feels really nice, especially the low humidity. But look off further to the east, 10 to 11 to 12 degrees warmer than it was yesterday. That's really showing us that here on the low levels, we're starting to see some of that low-level moisture to the east, slowly eventually working its way westward. So since it has some of that moisture, they are a little bit warmer versus where we are. Here's across the whole United States, not too bad for this time of year. Oklahoma City at 62, Little Rock at 65, even down towards Houston is into the 60s. Not bad at all. Here we are currently in our localized area. Beaumont at 62, Lake Charles 67, Jennings 69. Down towards the coast is into the mid 60s to low 70s. Not bad at all. Lufkin into the upper 50s currently. So we had some areas that did get down to the upper 50s this morning, but several areas into the 60s. Our construction and outdoor forecast for today, sponsored by Modern Concrete Material, looks really good, just like it has been the last couple of days. Plenty of sunshine. Temperatures right now starting out at the low 70s. As we get closer, we start getting into the upper 80s to low 90s. And again, we do have that small potential for some coverage of a coastal shower, really from the I-10 corridor and further south. This is mainly from Cameron Parish into parts of southeast Texas. Not going to be much of an issue. So really, it looks really good today. That's because we've got this northern flow still coming into the region. High pressure ridge is starting to somewhat dominate the state of Texas. Once we get into later this week, we're going to start really seeing that high pressure ridge set up. But notice the flow is still out of the north. So we're still getting in the mid to upper levels lots of dry air coming in. So if we get any type of shower, it's going to be very small, very minimum. Rain coverage is going to be very low. So we are mainly dry. Little to no rain is expected. Even once we get into the weekend, notice that high pressure ridge is really still over the state of Texas, still keeping the flow out of the north, somewhat getting out of the northeast once we get into Saturday. Look at the atmospheric moisture. We can see that we've got lots of dry air right now, but notice a little bit of green comes in from the east. That is that moisture surging in just a little bit, enough to give us a coastal shower or two. And I think that we actually can see this again tomorrow on Thursday. But notice this weekend, look how far down this dry air is getting into the Gulf. September is typically one of our wettest months, but when you get a front like this that we've had and all of this dry air that's surging this far southward, this keeps us pretty much dry. If you look at the rainfall outlooks and rainfall totals the next 5, 7, 10 days, very, very dry here locally. And again, this is normally one of our wettest months. Here's our futurecast today, sponsored by Modern Concrete. You can see that not much as of right now. We're starting to see some clouds coming in from the east. There's some of those showers that we're expecting later on this afternoon, getting closer to the evening time in parts of southwest Louisiana. Could sneak into southeast Texas. Once we get into Thursday, still have some of that partly cloudy skies. But notice here we are just a little bit further to the north. Areas like Liberty County could get a shower, and then we could see some of those more isolated showers again. Coverage very small, less than 10% is what we're expecting. We still have lots of dry air into the mid to upper levels, so that's why we're not seeing widespread or scattered showers and storms. Very, very isolated. Temperatures today will be into the upper 80s to low 90s. A good portion of the region is really going to be into the low 90s. Down towards the coast will be into the upper 80s. Overnight lows will be a little bit warmer than what it has been. Houston's going to be at 76, so definitely a little bit warmer than what has been. Still here locally in Beaumont, not too bad at 71, Lake Charles 72. Down towards the coast will be into the upper 70s to low 80s. A little bit further north, they've been into the 50s. Not overnight tonight. They will be into the mid to upper 60s, but still, it is fairly cool for this time of year. Watching the tropics, there's not much to watch. The Eastern Pacific still has some outlooks going on where they could see some development. Not much going on here in the tropical Atlantic as all this dry air and wind shear really keeps things in check. We'll continue to watch some more waves that come off the coast of Africa move westward, but right now, the overall background of the tropical Atlantic still has a lot of dry air and wind shear. But we do see some, bubbling and convection over there in Africa. We'll keep an eye on some of this as it moves westward, but really, like it's been the last couple of weeks, lots of dry air keeping a lot of this in check. And we can see, sponsored by Neutron Electrical Services, look at all the Saharan dust. It looks like August. Nope, it's actually mid September we're sneaking into, and we're still talking about lots of dry air. This is keeping the tropics really in check. Sure, there's some windows of opportunity, so that's when we'll continue to keep watching these waves, but still, the overall background has lots of dry air, and this is just unfavorable for tropics. So the Gulf looks pretty quiet the next 7 to 10 days. Pretty quiet here locally the next 7 days, just very small rain coverage today and tomorrow. Temperatures on a slow, gradual warming trend if we talk about the highs. But notice that our lows are still slightly below what we typically would be at. Our lows typically would be around 72 degrees. We're 64 this morning. Tomorrow we're expecting 70, so we should see our lows into the upper 60s to low 70s the next 7 days. Southwest Louisiana, same thing today. A little bit better rain coverage today, but still very minimum at 20%, 10% on Thursday, and we're still seeing all that dry air really dominating the whole overall region the next 5 to 6, 7 days. Maybe we start seeing a little bit moisture start coming back in on Tuesday of next week, but overall, this is really looking like a nice forecast. Friday night football looking pretty good, not only in Southwest Louisiana, but also Southeast Texas. So you guys have a wonderful Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in to Gulf Coast Weather Solutions. Lucas will have his evening show later on this evening, and I will see you guys again tomorrow on Thursday morning. Thanks again for checking in.